Good evening and thank you for making time for us. This Friday, the 14th day of June 2019, we are coming to you live from the nation's center here in the capital. NTV Weekend Edition starts right now. Tonight, first it was the MPs, now MCAs demand housing allowance.
All county assembly service boards across all the 47 county assemblies pay all members of the county assemblies housing allowance forthwith.
And they vow to pursue colons and grants. Also tonight,
Conditions will be such that a conviction will...
Magistrate in Governor Waititu case suspended, but says the suspension is illegitimate and calls it quits. Plus,
akasema huyu kuna mtoto kwa choo.
Newborn baby dumped in a pit latrine, but Nakuru village residents snatched him from death's hand.
Mimi nikaingia ndani wakanivuruta na mguu. Nikatoa mtoto hiyo.
And
Governor Waititu baba yao, niliona vile ulisukumwa, uendelee kusukumwa mpaka pesa yetu irudi kwa watu wa mashinani.
Hata kadhoni huyu aliniona miaka 2-3 imepita anijui.
A new episode of Beauty and the Beast. And 2 ways of drinking tea, the Sang style and the Ruto way on Bullseye.
This is NTV Weekend Edition with Edmond Nyabola.
Welcome to the broadcast. Our sign language interpreter tonight is David Agondoa, and together with him we ask for your company for the next 60 minutes or so. To our top story, just when you probably had it with the housing allowance debate by members of parliament, there is more. Members of County Assembly now want in on the action. Yes, you heard right. Your members of County Assembly now want to be given a house allowance, and according to them, it should be done with instantaneous immediacy. Mark Masai reports.
Solidarity forever. Well, they may not be singing it now, but they are definitely thinking it. Solidarity in the matter of housing allowances. If the MPs can get it, the members of 47 county assemblies or MCAs will not be MIA on this one. The MCAs also want a housing allowance, and they have a strong claim as state officers based on this.
The ruling made by Justice Chacha Mwita on the 5th October 2018 on the matter of constitutional petition number 328 of 2016, the Council of Governors versus Salaries and Remuneration Commission, that all state officers are entitled to house allowance.
It is the same precedent set by Justice Mwita that MPs are using to claim their right to the housing allowance in their ongoing tussle with the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, which has now caught momentum with other echelons of government.
In the same spirit, the Governing Council today resolves to and respects this ruling and approves that all county assembly service boards across all the 47 county assemblies pay all members of the county assemblies housing allowance forthwith.
There's no amount pegged on their demand yet. Perhaps this is left to the SRC, who just this week got orders to further extend the freeze on the 250,000 shillings housing allowance from members of parliament. Their fate will be determined in a fortnight, as directed by High Court Judge James Makau on Wednesday.
I certify the application urgent and I direct the parties who have not been served to be served today.
Meanwhile, MPs have not taken kindly the move by SRC to stop the payment of their house allowances, as they made true their threat and cut over 100 million shillings in SRC's budget. However this may go, it is clear what the MCAs want.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Mark Masai, NTV.
Well, how about that? It's never a dull day in the 254, so they say. The magistrate at the center of the recent controversial anticipatory bail of Kiambu County Governor Ferdinand Waititu has resigned a day after he was suspended by Chief Justice David Maraga. Kiambu Principal Magistrate Brian Hayemba says the decision of the Chief Justice to suspend him amounts to constructive summary dismissal.
Such that a conviction...
After almost 9 years serving as magistrate and later as principal magistrate, Kiambu Principal Magistrate Brian Hayemba has decided to quit a day after Chief Justice David Maraga suspended him for gross misconduct. Hayemba found himself on the spot on the 23rd of May when he issued an anticipatory bail order to Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu, moments after the governor was arrested on suspicion of corruption despite being on sick leave. A move that was criticized and seen as part of efforts to derail the war on corruption. While suspending Hayemba with nil salary, Maraga in his letter says Hayemba conducted himself in a manner likely to suggest that he has a personal interest in the matter. It was public knowledge that Hayemba was on sick leave, as the same was announced to the litigants during the morning briefing. However, in his letter to the Judicial Service Commission, Hayemba insists the decision is not a suspension, but a constructive summary dismissal. Hayemba says the decision concludes that he is guilty without a hearing. Hayemba argues that the decision determines that he acted without jurisdiction, yet no determination in that regard has been made.
I have evaluated the evidence on the record.
Hayemba says the decision to suspend him without a salary is contrary to regulations and labor laws, terming his suspension as unfair and repudiation of his contract of service. 3 days ago, Hayemba had a showdown with the Assistant Director of Public Prosecution, Catherine Mwaniki, who is leading the prosecution of city lawyer Asa Nyakundi, accused of killing his son. Mwaniki wanted the Kiambu court to issue a warrant of arrest against Nyakundi for skipping a court session. However, Hayemba declined to give the order, saying his senior Teresia Nyagena still had the lawyer's file. He also rejected her request that he goes through a skeleton of the file and make a ruling. Maraga's decision came after Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission CEO Twalib Mbarak filed a complaint against Hayemba at the Judicial Service Commission, asking that he be investigated. Vincent Odur, NTV.
When they were launched about 10 years ago, the Youth Fund, Women Fund and that of people living with disability were meant to improve access to credit facilities. The government then argued that these initiatives would help promote equity and reduce the growing levels of poverty. But a decade later, their management has been marred by reports of corruption, despite billions of shillings being allocated. And now the government has consolidated them into one and pumped in more billions, all in the name of reviving it for the better. Will this move work for the good? NTV Silas Apollo now explores.
To increase efficiency and eliminate overlaps, I have consolidated the three funds into one to be known as Biashara Kenya Fund. The fund will give special priority to businesses owned by youth, women and people living in disabilities.
This was Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich announcing on Thursday the allocation of additional funds to the now consolidated Biashara Kenya Fund, which he says is aimed at helping women, youth and the disabled in the country. Rotich said that the consolidation is aimed at improving the efficiency of the fund, whose access and administration has not been as effective.
Precisely the challenge we have been seeing is that there is a lot of duplication, there is a lot of bureaucracy, and yet each of them gets smaller resources, which does not actually provide more efficient or economies of scale.
The Youth Fund, for instance, has been marred by reports of graft to the tunes of billions of shillings since it was established in 2007. The managers of the fund have been accused of siphoning billions from the kitty, with the government's investigating agencies turning a blind eye to the theft. A report by the Auditor General Edward Ouko shows that at least 10 billion shillings was lost at the National Youth Fund in the year 2016-2017 through fictitious and non-existent loan payments. Another 100 million shillings was misused at the fund in 2016. The money is said to have been used in the purchase of luxury homes and to pay off debts. Some money was also wired to accounts of powerful individuals and law firms, according to a parliamentary report. And in May 2018, 7 officials of the Youth Enterprise Development Fund were suspended following questionable payments of over 10 million shillings to 4 youth groups. It is perhaps on this basis that Ouko alluded to the fact that there existed instances of budgeted corruption in government.
If it is indeed budgeted corruption, then our budget making is something which we must start looking at in very strongly.
As of last year, government data shows that some 11.7 billion shillings have been lent to women through the Women Enterprise Fund, 5.2 billion shillings given out from the Uwezo Fund, and another 12 billion shillings disbursed under the Youth Enterprise Fund. The consolidated Biashara Kenya Fund will bring together the Youth Enterprise Development Fund, Women Enterprise Development Fund, and for those living with disability.
We better have a bigger fund which you can actually break down bureaucracy and have it managed by one entity.
Silas Apollo, NTV.
Now, 5 firemen from the Nairobi Firefighting Department were today rushed to Nairobi West Hospital to receive treatment after inhaling poisonous fumes at the Kemsa warehouse in industrial area Nairobi, where a fire broke out at the flammable goods store. According to sources, the firefighters lacked gas masks when they arrived at the scene of the fire and were victims of poisonous fumes.
The fire that started at the warehouse at around 10:30 a.m. burning up about 200 cartons of ethanol, each carton containing 4 jerrycans of the highly flammable liquid. Firemen from the Nairobi Firefighting Department were quick to respond, but they lacked special gear to protect them from inhaling the poisonous gases. In a record of 20 minutes, the 5 firemen had contained the fire, averting injuries and harm except to themselves. They were taken ill after inhaling the smoke. Inhalation of fumes from burning ethanol can cause a number of symptoms, including headaches, nausea, vomiting, irritation of the nose and mucous membranes, throat irritation, and even difficulty with breathing or even fatality. Kemsa firefighters were joined in fighting the fire were unharmed as they were fully and safely dressed. Sources reveal that 2 of the firemen have been treated and discharged, where the remaining 3 are still receiving treatment at the Nairobi West Hospital. The cause of the fire is still unknown and under investigation. Eunice Omolo, NTV.
Now, residents of Nkoroi in Rongai, that's in Kajiado County, today helplessly watched their homes being demolished to make way for the extension of the standard gauge railway project. The residents say that they are yet to be compensated, while their more connected and influential neighbors have already received their payments and moved out. They say that they have nowhere else to go, as the homes were an investment that they thought they would get to enjoy for years. Police provided security for the personnel who operated heavy machinery to bring down these homes, shattering the dreams of these residents. Now, days after Nandi County Governor Stephen Sang was freed on bond by a Kisumu court after facing charges related to his partial destruction of a tea plantation, among them abuse of office, the governor has today held prayers which were graced by the clergy, elders from Nandi County and some residents. Governor Sang maintains that he will keep championing for the rights of the poor in his county, as NTV's Lois Wangoi now tells us.
Hili kwamba waweze kutuongoza.
Governor Sang stood tall, face bowed, and with a Bible in hand, the day's agenda, county prayers. Flashback, This was Governor Sang a week ago. He made headlines by leading an attack on part of Kibwari tea plantation, a tea estate that belongs to powerful KANU-era politician Henry Kosgei. He claimed that this 4-acre piece of land is public utility space, which Kosgei grabbed through Kibwari Tea Plantation Company in the 90s. He has been charged in court for those actions. Today, Governor Sang spoke in defense of his actions, albeit subtly.
Uzuri wa serikali yeyote inakuwa assessed wakati kwa kulingana na vile inachunga wale ambao hawajiwezi katika society.
Before this sitting, Governor Sang had had a closed-door meeting with elders from the Nandi county. Even as details of that private meet remain scanty, many believe the elders may have tried to act as mediators between the governor and politician Henry Kosgei.
Nyinyi kama wazee, bishop wetu, tuweze kukutanisha viongozi sisi wote ili tuweze kuwa na mkutano huo, kwa sababu we want to chart a way forward that unites all of us as a leadership.
Governor Sang is expected back in court in September this year to defend himself against 3 offences, among them abuse of office. A day before his arrest, Governor Sang had commenced the construction of a kettle dip at the reclaimed piece of land.
Wakati wewe unaenjoy, na mimi nilijua hii juzi, wakati wewe unaenjoy freedom ya kutembea, kumbuka wale wamewekwa ndani.
Lois Wangoi, NTV, in the county of Nandi.
Freedom ya kuitwa mkutano unakuja, ya kwenda kanisa unaenda.
Now picture this. Today you are born and tomorrow you are fighting for your life in a pit latrine. This is neither fiction nor an analogy. This is the reality of a baby in Nakuru County who is believed to have been dumped just hours after enjoying his first breath of life. Bridget Sangana brings us the story of a newborn boy who cried in the face of death and now lives to enjoy the world he just came into. This, ironically, happening on the same day there were celebrations to mark the Day of the African Child in a county that has been host to concerns about child neglect.
Ignorance is bliss, the saying goes, one that is embodied in the calm innocence of this sleeping baby, oblivious of having been close to death's grip just hours after birth. In Nakuru's Kwara estate, the morning calm was broken by cries from the latrine, which changed morning plans for some residents.
Mwenye aliingia kwa choo akasikia mtoto akilia. Mimi naishi hapa next. Sasa kusikia mtoto akalia akatoka nje akapiga nduru. Akasema huyu kuna mtoto kwa choo. Sasa tukasikia watu wengi wakisema mtoto ametupwa.
Gana ngaleta tindo kutoka kwetu hapo. Tukapomoa. Vile tunapomoa tukatoa ile mawa. Mimi nikaingia ndani wakanivuruta na mguu. Ngatoa mtoto hivyo.
At a nearby mission hospital, the baby received first aid and is responding well to treatment.
The baby was stable, not badly off, but a little bit dirty. The baby had a name tag, which is from a hospital. The baby is a male. We weighed the baby, he was 2.6 kgs.
Wakati unaongea na mwanaume kuna mtihani, ujue atakupea mtihani. Na matokeo ya hiyo mtihani ni mtoto. Wakati umezaa mtoto, lea, usiue mtoto.
The case of the little boy who unknowingly fought off death is part of a problem in Nakuru, with child welfare organizations raising concern on the rising number of street children and families.
Ningependa serikali ijaribu kutafuta njia mwafaka ya kusaidia watoto sana ambao wanaenda mitaani, na kuwe na some centers whereby wasichana ambao wamepata mimba out of ambao hawako tayari wanaweza pata mashauri ili wasiwe wakuzaa watoto na kutupa.
In February, more than 20 street children from Nakuru were allegedly dumped in a forest in Baringo County and later handed over to the Nakuru County officials. The county government has been criticized on how it handled the matter. Still, Governor Lee Kinyanjui's government remains silent on the situation to date. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru.
Quite a bizarre story there. We hope that that boy grows up to be someone who's strong and healthy and, of course, successful. This, of course, now bringing to the fore that discussion on child welfare in the country. Just 16 minutes past the hour. We take our first short break on NTV Weekend Edition. We still have more. Don't go too far.
The Nairobi City County has a new revenue collection platform. To pay your parking fee, business permit, land rate, rent and other services, dial *235# and enjoy our seamless services. Mambo ni digital na *235#.
Kenya's marketplace for the building industry is back with the 22nd Build Expo Africa 2019, the premier international trade exhibition in the region. From a washer to a crusher, source all your construction requirements at the 22nd Build Expo Africa at KICC Nairobi from the 4th to the 6th of July 2019.
Who wants to answer? Mary?
Mary has a tooth.
Welcome back. President Uhuru Kenyatta has reaffirmed his intentions to fight graft in government institutions, saying that every officer found culpable will face the full force of the law. His sentiments were echoed by ODM leader Raila Odinga, who said that corruption has painted Kenya wrongly in the eyes of the outside world. The head of state also warned officers in his government against early 2022 campaigns, instead asking them to focus on the delivery of the Big Four agenda. Zacchaeus Mosame with those details.
ODM leader Raila Odinga on Friday played the host to President Uhuru Kenyatta in Kisumu County. They had both attended the burial ceremony of Kisumu Governor Anyang' Nyong'o's mother, Dorcas Wino Nyong'o, in Rata Village, Seme constituency. The head of state once again maintained that he is determined to take the bull by its horns on matters fighting corruption, as Raila stated that corruption has brought shame to the nation.
Tukasema hatuwezi kubadilisha maisha ya Wakenya wetu kama tutaendelea na mambo ya ufisadi katika taifa letu la Kenya. Na tukasema tukifaulu na mambo hayo matatu, Kenya hii itabadilika. Tutaweza sasa kuwa na afya kwa watu wetu. Tunaweza kuhakikisha ya kwamba uchumi umepanuka na vijana wetu wameweza kupata kazi.
Lakini haiwezi kufanyika kama wezi ya mali ya umma imefika kiemu ambayo imefika katika Kenya hii. Kenya inacheza kwenye Super League ya ufisadi.
ODM chairman John Badi and Siaya Senator James Orengo asked the president to declare Raila Odinga his preferred successor, but the president instead cautioned against early politicking over the 2022 succession, asking leaders to focus on delivering pledges.
Just go back and think about it and sleep over it. That when you are living, we pray that God gives you life, gives you strength and energy. Please pray that you leave somebody in office who is going to continue with the fight against corruption. Don't leave a person who is going to reverse all the gains that you have started.
So I hope and trust that you and Raila Odinga will be guided towards giving us a new dispensation, including the referendum.
We don't need to repeat them. So my plea, as my mother goes to heaven, to tell Jesus she's left a referendum behind. Bwana Yesu asifiwe.
The time will come. But let us fix Kenya first. And then we can play our politics, knowing that we have fixed all the critical things that need to be fixed in Kenya to ensure that we live peace, stable, and in harmony with one another.
The late Dorika Wino died at the age of 99. Zakis Masame, NTV, Kisumu.
Deputy President William Ruto has urged leaders from across the nation to shun divisive politics and work together for the development of the nation. Ruto called on leaders from northern Kenya to ensure security has been enhanced in areas prone to banditry, as it has led the death, of innocent children and women, stressing that they should not fuel it. Turkana Governor Josephat Nanok also pledged that Turkana and Pokot leaders will set their differences aside and foster ties that will ensure the two communities move forward.
Hiyo mzozo tumemaliza, mimi pamoja na wenzangu wa bunge kule Turkana tumemaliza, hapa pia mmemaliza, na sisi tumeshikana na viongozi wenyu, tunasema direction ni moja.
Siasa ya zamani ya ugomvi, ya chuki, na wizi ya ng'ombe, na fujo, na mambo ambayo yanatuletea insecurity, hiyo ni siasa duni ya zamani, tumeisahau, tumeifungia katika kaburi la sahau. Sisi wote sasa ni timu moja na tunaelekea mahali pamoja.
Wajir East Member of Parliament Rashid Kasim was arraigned today to answer to charges of assault on Wajir woman representative Fatuma Gedi within the precincts of Parliament. Kasim denied the allegations before Magistrate Francis Andai, and he was released on a 50,000 shilling cash bail. His lawyers argued that their client had suffered a mental breakdown that caused him to be admitted at Aga Khan Hospital Thursday night. Kasim was reportedly detained and interrogated for 2 hours after his confrontation with legislator Fatuma Gedi. It also is alleged that their argument ensued after Kasim accused Gedi of failing to represent their region well in the budget committee to receive a favorable allocation in this year's budget. The case is expected to be heard on 6th of August. And on that note, we take another short break on NTV Weekend Edition. We still have more, including business, bullseye, and sports.
Kujimotoa hapo na kujipodopodo.
Dakika moja tu na wewe.
Mimi nakwambia hii date mimi nitakutangulia. Mimi niende nikule, wewe utaenda kule baadaye. Utapata nimelipa.
time to get down to business. Welcome, I am Julian Amboko, and let's start at the pump. Now, motorists will be forced to tighten their belts for the next 1 month from midnight tonight, following increase in the cost of fuel. In its monthly review, the Energy Regulatory Authority says the price of petrol will go up by 3 shillings and 7 cents per litre, diesel by 39 cents, while kerosene decreases by 34 cents per litre. The authority claims that the increase in prices are as a result of the 8% increased VAT levy, as well as the expensive cost of importing refined petroleum products. In Nairobi, a litre of super petrol will retail at 115 shillings and 10 cents. A litre of diesel will retail at 104 shillings and 76 cents, while kerosene will retail at 104 shillings and 28 cents per litre. In Mombasa, a litre of super petrol will retail at 112 shillings and 45 cents. And going back to matters fiscal policy and the budget, now tax experts at Ernst & Young are of the opinion that the budget read on Thursday does not go to the length required of widening the tax base of the economy so as to raise revenue to hit the set target. According to them, there are additional measures that would need to be rolled out by the government if it is to achieve the ambitious revenue target of 2.1 trillion shillings. Alex Mwangi with the details.
A day after the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury, Henry Rotich, presented the national budget, financial experts are weighing in on the various tax proposals. One of the key issues of concern is to what extent tax revenues will aid in reducing the pressure on domestic borrowing, especially in light of the crowding out effect.
You're taxing the capital gains tax from 5 to 12. How many people are paying capital gains tax? So the measures you put, even to get half of that, it will be a problem.
When you increase to 1.8, the target, and you only have measures that increase 37 billion of the current, assuming that you would collect the current year's revenue plus 37 billion, then it means, we would miss the target.
The Cabinet Secretary has tinkered with the tax rates in a bid to raise more revenue. Analysts, however, are of the opinion that the government needs to execute a number of reforms besides the financial measures in order to boost economic activity.
Tax is actually very, very minimal in terms of spurring manufacturing sector, and one of them is security. To have a 24-hour economy, to have infrastructure. The cost of power, if you compare how you pay power in Kenya and Egypt, is completely different. That's a desert. Tax comes at the tail end.
Progress on the East African community's efforts towards making it easy for residents to trade across borders and move within the region seem to have taken a backseat, with each country focusing on its own domestic issues. On this, regional governments seem to have dropped the ball, and developments are now taking place at a glacial pace.
The common external tariff is supposed to be amended every 5 years. The last amendment was in 2012, and we were supposed to have a new common external tariff in 2017. The reviews have stalled till now, so we don't necessarily have an up-to-date common external tariff.
Rotich now faces the challenge of translating the ideas and policies into action in a bid to make economic growth more meaningful to the masses. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
And staying with budgetary provisions from yesterday, the Association of Kenya Insurance has clarified that the third-party insurance requirement for border terming it as an old regulation that is only being embedded into law. CEO Tom Gishui says that every instrument of movement on Kenyan roads ought to be insured in order to cover the risks of its operation passengers on the road users. He says the government directive is aimed at streamlining the border transport service to ensure that pillion passengers, pedestrians and other motorists are protected while on the road. He noted that the public awareness is needed as most people do not understand that the insurance covers they hold and what benefits they provide.
Borders and tuk-tuks are not mentioned anywhere in the law. So even as NTSA and the police have been enforcing or have been requiring that borders need to have a third-party insurance cover, particularly so for passengers. Their interpretation of the Act has been that borders and tuk-tuks are part of motor vehicles.
Mimi niko na cover mbili ya compressive ya motorbike na abiria, alafu niko na personal cover.
If you are a boda rider, just like if you are a driver of a car, or you are a driver of a matatu, or you are a driver of a bus, or you are a conductor of a bus or a matatu, you are not covered under the motor insurance cover that you have bought. You are not covered.
Keen to see how many insurers will cover that risk and what premiums they will be charging. A section of members of parliament from Kiambu County have vowed to resist any attempts by the National Treasury to repeal the cap on lending rates provided for by Section 33B of the Banking Amendment Act of 2016. Kiambu Member of Parliament Jude Njomo says the Treasury should focus on tending its appetite for domestic borrowing and not on repealing a law which, in his view, is helping Kenyans.
So pendekezo moja ambayo waziri wetu wa finance amesema ni kuwa anapendekeza hiyo cap itolewe, kwa sababu mabanki inakataa kupatia wakulima wadogo pesa, banki inakataa kupatia wanabiashara wadogo pesa, na hii bank inachukua pesa yake yote inapatia Rotich kwa sababu yeye ndiye anakopa.
On to financial services, KCB Group has inched closer to acquiring the National Bank of Kenya after the latter's shareholders voted in favor of a conditional conversion of the bank's preference shares into ordinary shares, paving way for the share swap deal. But as Victor Kiprop reports, some minority shareholders believe that they got a bad deal from the swap, even as the management maintains that the transaction is still in its initial stages.
At today's annual general meeting, National Bank of Kenya shareholders should have gathered to celebrate the bank's major milestone after 50 years of operations in Kenya. But instead, shareholders were sitting here closer to being sold.
We passed significant resolutions in terms of conversion of the preference shares into ordinary shares following the letter of offer by KCB.
1.12 billion preferential shares of NBK will now be converted into ordinary shares ahead of the transaction in which 10 ordinary shares of NBK will be swapped with 1 ordinary share of KCB. However, some of the minority shareholders who control a 6.8% stake in the bank believe that they got a bad deal from the conversion.
The preference shares are the guilty ones, or the owners, the holders. They need to be punished. Not the ordinary shares. In other words, they need to be diluted so that they can be diluted at 5-1. Then the KCB swap now can happen at comfortably 4.1, in which case the ordinary shareholder suffers less compared to what is being suggested.
But even as the deal sails to the next step, questions regarding the nature of the buyout persist.
Who went looking for the other? Is it KCB who said we want to marry you? Or is it you that went to KCB and said, we are here, please marry us?
What is the safety of National Bank of Kenya employees?
While the proposed buyout has already been approved by shareholders of both banks, the National Bank of Kenya maintains that the deal is far from being sealed and that it's still open for counter-offers by other interested bidders, even as the offer by KCB awaits regulatory approval. Victor Kiprop, NTV Business, Nairobi.
And in the capital markets, the value of counters listed at the Nairobi Securities Exchange closed Friday's trade at 2.2 trillion shillings, shaving off 11 billion from investors' wealth compared to the close of last week. Now, on the back of this performance, I sat down with Genghis Capital senior research analyst Churchill Ogutu to address the likelihood that the raft of proposals made in the National Treasury budget could revitalize the market going forward.
Introduce amnesty on the tax penalties and interest on any outstanding tax for 2 years period to the listing for SMEs that list under the GEMS program.
Could that be masking something else? Because if a company is not able to remit some taxes, that could not be the only thing which is a headwind to that company. There could be some other things. So I'm quite fearful on where I'm sitting that we can have adverse elections, that companies, lower quality companies are being listed because of just this proposed amendment.
There was this point that the CS raised about repealing the interest rate cap. This is a discussion we've been having for quite a while now. IMF has taken a position around it. What do you think this would have in terms of impact on the capital markets?
Some of the counters that have quoted profit warnings in the last 2 years have really gone down to this issue about the interest rate cap. They have not been receiving credit, they have not been able to expand their businesses, so they have been having some dire strains. So I think it may be able to unlock what the negative impact that has been felt in other areas apart from the banking stocks from this whole interest rate capping.
The proposals made by the Treasury Cabinet Secretary come at a time when the market is subdued, with the NSE 20-share index closing this week's trade at 2,706 points, 14 points lower than it closed yesterday. It remains to be seen whether the market will gather momentum following yesterday's budget statement. And finally, smallholder tea farmers will now be able to access and use renewable fuel in their homes as part of a partnership signed between the Kenya Tea Development Agency and the Global Environment Conservation Organization Rainforest Alliance. The project, dubbed Empowering Rural Communities and Households in Kenya with Renewable Energy, will seek to reduce the amount of firewood used by households in tea-producing areas by catalyzing a renewable energy transition from the use of firewood to smoke-free biomass briquettes. Ultimately, the project aims to achieve a 30% reduction of firewood use in 12 tea factories, in the process saving at least 156,000 trees, accounting for about 260 acres of forest plantation annually. It will also seek to have 50,000 households use cleaner energy at the end of the period.
In total, the factories, the KDD factories, will consume firewood from an equivalent of about 5,000 acres per year, and reducing that area by use of briquettes will go a long way in our efforts on conservation.
And that closes the Business Bulletin tonight. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing.
You in the pollution? Yes, you. Dry throat? Strepsils. Gal in the smoke with a raspy voice? Strepsils. Hello, in the downpour with a scratchy throat? Take Strepsils. Get soothing relief for any throat irritation. Strepsils, with its medicinal ingredients, will heal the ham down to your throat. Final fact.
Edmond Nyabola. Welcome back. It's now time for your favorite segment of the Friday broadcast. Now, the Game of Thrones, or GOAT, international version, may have passed, but the Kenyan political goats, yes, goats, the political animals, are just warming up for their new episode. Loyalties are switching fast, not out of conviction, but for survival. And as Emmanuel Juma now reports on Bullseye, the most common prayer among politicians, it appears, has everything to do with beseeching God to get rid of your opponent.
Daunty bushes must have been music to the ears of Sang, and he sang on. Sang on until the real music started playing.
DPP ametoa amri ya kwamba Bwana Sang ashikwe.
And then it was time to face the music.
Katiba ya Kenya mpya iliondoa maneno ya orders from above. Huyu above ni nani?
Regardless of where the orders came from, Sang may just have realized that such actions are not necessarily equal to his usual cup of tea.
Wakati wewe unaenjoy, na mimi nilijua hii juzi, wakati wewe unaenjoy freedom ya kutembea, kumbuka wale wamewekwa ndani.
But the hustler was enjoying his cup of tea in the meantime. From the look of things, the tea was hot from inside and outside. Just look at the cup. That's why mandazi was not enough. He paid for this one, and it cannot be said he left a debt in Kawangware.
Hiyo mambo ya madeni, mimi nilishawajibu.
So, whose debt do you owe, sir?
Kuna deni tu moja ambayo iko. Na deni ni mimi na Uhuru Kenyatta tukiendesha serikali ya Jubilee, tutimize yale ambayo tuliwaambia wananchi wa Kenya tutafanya.
I believe you. And just as a reminder, you owe us quite a lot.
Hiyo sasa, hiyo deni imekwisha.
You too, MM? I didn't know you were owed anything.
Mimi nimesaidia Moi, nimesaidia Uhuru, nimesaidia Raila.
But MM, deni or no deni, you have a new admirer.
Na ndugu yangu Msalia, mimi niko tayari tutumie chochote nihakikishe ya kwamba mtoto wa Mluya anapata uongozi katika nchi ya Kenya.
Rashidi, do you remember this?
Musalia kuja ambie wakulima wa miwa wale walikuwa wanapeleka Mumias Sugar Company, aseme yeye alilipwa kama nani 380 million Kenya shillings.
That was Rashid then. And now?
Musalia ameocha kwa heshima kubwa. Kama ni ungwana umefanya ya kutosha. Kama ni kuunga watu wa Nyanza umeunga ya kutosha.
He is doing what our politicians like to call forgetting and moving on. And you, Malala, is Rashid now a good boy?
Mimi na Rashid tutafikiria.
How about this just a few weeks back?
Muulize kwamba wakati Rashid alikuwa kwa ofisi alisaidia nini?
You fooled them again, Malala. You fooled them.
Mimi ni mtoto mzuri. Mimi sisemi kwa wengine.
Okay. It was he who said bindu bichenjanga, and things do change for real. This is what the Englishman had in mind when he spoke of being a pale shadow of oneself.
Don't push me. Hey. Yeah, don't push me.
But anyway, it's all about being pushed to the wall.
Governor Waitito baba yao, niliona vile ulisukumwa, uendelee kusukumwa mpaka pesa yetu irudi kwa watu wa mashinani.
Kweli mimi nachunguzwa na mimi sikatai, na watu wengi wanachunguzwa. Na hiyo sio kitu. Ukichunguzwa kwani ni nini? Kwa sababu wale wanalichunguza hawanijui. Hata kadhoni huyu aliniona miaka 2-3 imepita hanijui.
Now, there is one very angry lady. What could the matter be? It's all about land and a case of long faces and long ties.
Wakati wewe uko na freedom, wewe kumbuka kwamba kuna wengi ambao hawana nafasi hiyo.
You may now kiss the bride. Emmanuel Juma, Bullseye, NTV.
Well, let's take a break. We'll be back with the sports.
Every footballer dreams of playing in the big leagues. It doesn't always happen. But what if the big leagues came to the players? For the first time ever, English Premier League sensations Everton will bring the game home. 2019 SportPesa Cup winners Kariobangi Sharks will go down in history as the first Kenyan team to host Everton in Kenya. July the 7th, Tukutane Kasarani. SportPesa, make it count.
Harambee Stars coach Sebastian Minye has a headache with 9 players to choose from in his midfield. Among the midfielders are Captain Victor Wanyama, Eric Joanna, Ayub Timbe as well as Francis Kahata. Minye will have the last chance to try out his partnerships in the bloated midfield against DRC on Saturday in Madrid, Spain in the last friendly before AFCON kicks off in a week's time.
Road to AFCON 2019 in association with GoTV.
In the 23-man final squad for Africa Cup of Nations, Harambee Stars coach Sebastian Minye named 9 midfielders, an indicator of his quest for a packed mid to aid in his defensive style. Among those granted a starting berth are captain and Tottenham Hotspur midfielder Victor Wanyama, who will don the number 12 jersey. Despite his European football credentials, Wanyama has to fight to dispel allegations of lukewarm displays with the national team.
We are not just going there to participate, but to also give the other teams, run for their money.
Eric Joanna announced his arrival on the national stage with an amazing goal against Congo-Brazzaville in an AFCON qualifier in 2016. The 2015 KPL midfielder of the year, who plies his trade in Sweden, has 23 caps for Stars, scoring 4 goals.
Every day it's a learning process, and every day that I play games, I get to learn something and I get to take something with me home. I think this will be effective for me when I go to AFCON and try to help the team.
Defensive midfielder Joanna Omolo and Dennis Odhiambo are a stable partnership with Wanyama, a selection Minye has often gone for to supplement his defense.
We're not the favorite, but we've worked hard enough to earn a spot in the AFCON. And it's not going to be easy. We're going to work for it and try to make ourselves happy, to make the country happy, and try to be considered to be among the top teams in the tournament.
With 32 caps and 2 goals for the Stars, Gor Mahia's Francis Kahata, who will don jersey number 11, believes his wizardry will be a great input to the team. China-based attacker Ayub Timbe, who has been consigned to the treatment table for the better part of the last 6 months, also made it to the final squad, as has journeyman Paul Were, who has made stints in South Africa, Greece and Kazakhstan.
Preparing for this was like already from 5 months ago. So this has been a dream actually for a very long time, and for me to be now, I feel very proud, very lucky.
If we have to take each and every game at a time, because football is all about 90 minutes, I think we're going to do good and we are going to surprise a lot of people.
Other midfielders that Minye can choose from are Spain-based Ismael Gonzalez and Sweden-based Ovelo Ochieng. From their friendly against DR Congo, Kenya will face Algeria, Tanzania and Senegal in Group C fixtures in Cairo at the Nations Cup.
Road to AFCON 2019 in association with GoTV.
Experience the unforgettable with the Total Africa Cup of Nations with Supersport on GoTV. GoTV, live it, love it. Proudly brought to you by Bettin.
All the best to the Stars tomorrow. Moving on, the Toronto Raptors won their first NBA title since the franchise's inception, that is 24 years ago, beating defending champions Golden State Warriors 4-2 in the final series. The Canadian team has strong African connections, and as Ida Waringa reports, Kenya can also claim a bit of the glory even as it dreams of taking local basketball to the next level.
The city of Toronto erupted in celebration after its basketball team, the Raptors, made history by winning the NBA championship, defeating the defending champions Golden State Warriors.
Moving on, former African champion Nora Jeruto clocked 9 minutes 3.71 seconds to set an Oslo Diamond League meet record as she stunned the world 3,000 meter steeplechase record holder Beatrice Chepkoech on Thursday night. In the men's 800 meters, Cornelius Tuwei finished runner-up to Puerto Rico's Ryan Sanchez, while in the mile, Vincent Kibet finished second to Poland's Marcin Lewandowski. In the men's 3,000 meters flat, Nicholas Kipkorir Kimeli finished third behind winner Solomon Barega of Ethiopia and Uganda's Joshua Cheptegei. The Oslo Showdown marked the fifth leg of the Diamond League series this season, with the next stop being Rabat, Morocco next weekend. And a three-way partnership between Nation Media Group, StarTimes and St. Mary's School was launched today at the school, which also saw Nation Media FC face St. Mary's in a friendly exhibition match. StarTimes will support the team for a period of 1 year through equipment and financial sponsorship, while Nation Media Group will offer academic and career support to the students at St. Mary's School. The launch was attended by NMG's CEO Stephen Gitagama, Head of Corporate and Regulatory Affairs Clifford Machoka, and Nation FC's team manager Elias Makori, among others.
I see this as one of those culture initiatives that will actually help us in building a strong organization. And then on the other side of the Nation Golf Classic, we offer an opportunity to our customers to meet our brands.
First against Coast Media combined team, whom we beat last year 3-0. That's on July 19th, and the following day we'll play against Bandari, that's the Kenya Ports Authority.
It's a pleasure to get into a partnership with a media group as big as Nation Media.
And England will be targeting a second consecutive victory when they face the old enemy Argentina in the late kickoff at 10 p.m. at the FIFA Women's World Cup. In the day's earlier games, Japan survived a late Scotland rally to leave the Scots World Cup qualification hopes in tatters after a 2-1 defeat. Scotland were outplayed in the first half, going down to Mana Iwabuchi in the 23rd minute and Yuika Sugasawa penalty in the 37th minute. Some second half substitutions. In today's FIFA Women's World Cup match between Japan against Scotland. Well done to Mary. She becomes one of the referees who've joined this FIFA World Cup after Aden Marwa in the Men's World Cup. And she has grown, coming from being a young upcoming referee in KPL. Kudos to her. Kudos to Mary Njoroge. And something to note, Harambee Stars has risen 3 positions up in the FIFA World Rankings from position 108 up to 105. Good stuff for Harambee Stars as they take on DRC tomorrow. But a lot more in Top Sport tomorrow from 2 to 4 p.m. and much more later on in our subsequent bulletins. But for now, back to you, Edmond.
That's the end of NTV Weekend Edition this Friday. Joining me right now is Amina Abdi Rabar.
Yes,
ready for the trend?
Yes, we are ready for the trend. We have a lot that is in store for you as the show kicks off. It's about, it's now, see after watershed. See watershed.
Kabla tuongee mambo ya trend, umeona munjabuza.
Hiyo munju nimeiona.
Now, a friend of mine says you should have warned the bride.
What?
Her name is Juliet. Njoro anasema unacheka na hizo ndio njaro zako. Mimi sifanyangi vitu kama hizo njoro.
Let me tell you guys something. You see now, that's what I was asking if is it after the watershed? So now we're going to talk about stories that were trending.
Yes.
So now there was this couple, right? They were, they wanted to improve on their life, their intimate life, and decided to wear goat skin. And then they went into the bush and decided to get busy. And there was someone who shot them thinking that
with goat skin.
They're goats.
They look like goats.
Yeah. So.
I'm not going to say it.
Which one is more shocking, the kiss or that?
Both.
Make sure that you watch the trend for more shocking things then.
So what do you have? Who's coming?
I have a lot more. I have Rehab Nyabola who's coming in. She's an ex-convict who's now a legal aid support officer. Okay. She talks about her incredible journey, her story, her moving and inspiring story, by the way, that you have to watch on.
And that boy, Lawrence Masira, who's now going to AFCON.
Yes, he is. Imagine his life just changed like this. Yeah. Celebrity overnight. Also has sent on so many things, and now his life is different.
All right. Thank you so much. Amina, over to you.
Thank you so much. Bye. Let me know.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. See you again tomorrow.
This is NTV.